This is the Ticket Water Cooler.
This is the greatest thing about sports week. You will win the game.
Coming at you live in the heart of Lincoln, America.
I say, hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right.
On air and online at theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Chip Enrique and Cliff.
Thank you for joining us on another day here on 93.7 The Ticket, a Tuesday and a big day for Nebraska football. Fall camp day 2 practices, I think, are wrapping up, and they've got some guys going to the podium. So we'll learn a little bit today defensively about Tony White, Terrence Knighton, both going to take the stand, and a few extra players. I know MJ Sherman set to be one of those guys. So maybe we'll bring some of that news to you throughout the day if there is news. I should say, because usually the first day, that's kind of when the news dump happens of everything that's been able to be talked about. I still hope somebody ask about Arik Gilbert or I mean,
still waiting on Arik.
Somebody's got to ask that every time.
Yeah, I know. Still waiting on Arik. I'm more confident for some reason than a lot of people, but you know, NCAA, you guys know how they are with some of their waivers. It doesn't make any sense. They have no method of the madness.
Right. It's hard to figure out. Do you think that, I mean, other than just the bias, why would Arik Gilbert be able to get this waiver?
Just his, I guess I don't have a good, I just feel like in certain situations where the NCAA, they are pretty, with certain players, lenient at certain universities. It feels like at bigger universities, the NCAA is a little more lenient on letting guys play. The way I'm looking at it, like at smaller, less football prominent universities, it feels like they're a little strict. More specifically, I mean, you think back to Luke Ford at Illinois, or the one, I can't remember who it was, if that was Luke Ford or not. A tight end transferred because his mom had cancer and he wanted to move closer to home, and that is the lone reason why he transferred, and they denied his waiver. I don't know, like you hear all the time about at a lot of SEC schools, a lot of Big Ten schools, guys transferring and immediately getting them eligible. I think maybe why it's taking longer than it usually would for Arik is that this is now his third school that he's been involved with. Hasn't really done a whole lot other places. I don't know. Once again, I don't know if there's ever a method to the madness that the NCAA does.
Yeah, I know. I had heard that some of them, this year they were denying a lot of them. So we'll see. But I mean, as long as you don't get the denial, then you're still in the game. It's very strange for the NCAA to let this play out to the point that you're in fall camp. But I don't know if they have to do some major investigation or if it just takes somebody that works there 10 minutes to say yes or no.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things.
I wonder. I mean, there are so many transfers, so I wonder if this is going to be a thing of like the future, to where it takes a while to hear on some guys. Like there are so many transfers throughout the entire country that with the NCAA and how, whether it's slow they work or just how they operate in general, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like thousands and thousands of guys going to the portal every offseason. And which means hundreds of decisions need to be made whether or not waivers are granted or not. And so with that in mind, I just wonder if this is going to be something that we see more and more often, to where it's getting right up to the end of right up to the start of the season to find out guys, and sometimes even trickling into the football season, which is why it's important and why Nebraska still is having Arik Gilbert practice with them every single day.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully we get the news on that in the coming days. But other than that, it's kind of a defensive day for Nebraska. Of course, we heard yesterday that Miles Farmer currently suspended from the team. So that maybe add a little bit more worry to you. But especially with on the captain there, we're talking about the first game with Minnesota, kind of the defensive theme. I had a lot of time to kind of digest it and think about it here this offseason. But where are you at with Nebraska's 3-3-5, installing it? Having it have to be ready to go against Minnesota. Of course, they were able to do a lot of that in the spring, but you're still probably working on some install here. To to me, and Minnesota's not going to give you a whole lot of challenges as far as creative offense and stuff like that. We kind of know that the tight ends and running game that they're going to bring to you. But I guess for the season overall, not just Minnesota, but knowing that that's a big challenge from game one, do you think it'll take a half a season to kind of get going, or do you think they can pick it up pretty quickly?
I think, well, so one thing I will say about Minnesota, Kaliak-Manis poses a little bit more of a running threat than Tanner Morgan ever did. And Nebraska fans saw it, witnessed firsthand last year when Kaliak-Manis brought Minnesota back. It does help that they don't have Mohamed Ibrahim or Trey Potts, but they have a really good tight end in Devin Spanford, probably the best tight end in the entire conference, for that matter. In Brevin Spanford, not Devin, Brevin Spanford. So with Spanford, obviously at tight end, they have a guy who I was shocked to still be there when I was looking at their Big Ten Media Days representatives. Chris Ottman-Bell, is still
like
there.
Year 7.
It's his 7 year. They took a 5th year, a 6th year, and a 7th year guy to Big Ten Media Days. Those were the.
I thought they were running out of Minnesota guys.
I thought so too. But no, they just decided to graduate all offensive linemen. So I mean, there's that. It's a somewhat young offensive line for Minnesota. You wonder what it could as a true starter. They went back and forth with the whole Kaliak-Manis and Tanner Morgan stuff. So I wonder, as a true starter and the only starter, how does Kaliak-Manis handle that kind of thing? How does Minnesota handle not having Mohamed Ibrahim back there, and understanding that, hey, we don't have necessarily another all Big Ten type of guy behind him like they did in Trey Potts. Sidebar, that Trey Potts transfer was one of the more interesting decisions this year. Decides to transfer, go to Penn State, where he backs up Nicholas Singleton.
Yeah.
So, I just wonder. I am not as high on Minnesota as a lot of people. I'm not. I think Minnesota's probably going to do, as you said, not very creative stuff. I think they're probably going to have a really good, a tougher defense. I honestly think that if Nebraska can limit their ability on the play action to like a Brevin Spanford, they're going to be okay in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I expect it to be a close game, a competitive game, and I think Nebraska could win it. I think if I'm forced to make a prediction, I'll probably side with Minnesota just because it's game one, and probably because I've been beaten down by Nebraska losing and bringing me down all this time. But I think I always go back to Tim Miles' quote when he was talking about years and years of not being able to go to the NCAA tournament. He says, "That's you guys. That's not me. This is year 2 for me. This is year 1 for Matt Rule." But game one, I think that gives you a little bit more of a challenge against a PJ Fleck who's in year 7, and his teams don't change all that much. And the personnel's changing, and there's going to be some questions there on their offensive side of the ball. But they've always been, big offensive lines and defenses with him. Joe Rossi, I think, is in his 6th year as a defensive coordinator. He's had those defenses top 15 the last couple of years, I believe. And again, they're not part of that's playing the Big Ten West. If you can play Iowa, that's going to help your defensive numbers out. But another part of that is they are pretty tough defense. So I mean, for both sides of the ball, a little bit challenging. I brought this up the other day, and I think it continues to be good. And I love to hear that Trev Alberts basically said at any way they can, they'll put Nebraska on these national big time stages, big time games. Thursday night on ESPN. Does that do a little bit more? I believe it's ESPN. I have to double check. But basically, it might be Fox. But national game.
It is Fox
Thursday rather than Saturday, where a game like that might get lost.
Well, see, I don't know. In years past, we have the conversation going in every season. The day before a game, I'm going to sit here and I'll say the same thing, where it's Nebraska has a gigantic opportunity ahead of on Thursday, August 31st, to go, all right, yeah, look, this is who Nebraska is now. This is what Nebraska is going to look like under Matt Rule. They have an opportunity to set somewhat of an expectation for the season of, well, this is how we are going to operate, and I mean that in the form of a win, right? And Nebraska, however, has had that chance the last 3 years. They had the chance 2 years ago against Illinois, and they came out and they looked flatter than ever. Adrian Martinez fumbles before half, and they end up losing the game in Brett Bielema's first game at Illinois. Then the following year, they are the only game that's being played in Ireland, for that matter, It's on Fox, and you do an onside kick up 11 and you end up losing that game to Northwestern, who finished the season 1-11, and you were their lone win. Nebraska's had so many opportunities the last few years, and so that doesn't surprise me when we hear, administrators and leaders in the athletic department say, "Hey, we're going to continue, scheduling these types of games." My lone plea to Nebraska is just be ready for that. And obviously, new staff, and we can't put the Illinois and the Northwestern losses on this staff. But as a program, Nebraska's just got to get ready. They got to show that they did something in the offseason to improve and not come out and lose games. Not it's not the other team winning games. And it's also you're not Florida State here playing top 5 LSU week 1. That's not. Illinois is a solid football team, but they are not LSU. Minnesota's a solid football team, but they are not an Alabama or a Texas or a Michigan. They're a middle of the road Big Ten West team, and frankly, you've been a bottom of the Big Ten West type of team, and so that's why I think you're struggling so much in these early games.
When I think to the Big Ten West part of it is interesting. Nebraska's had to battle back from those early season losses, starting 0-1, not just the season, but in the conference. And Nebraska, the Big Ten West last year, a chance to win a weak division, to kind of skate your way into Big Ten championship talk. And I think it's fair that that's probably not being talked about a whole lot around Nebraska, because I think that's kind of putting the cart before the horse. But you win that one, and all of a sudden you're already getting
Exactly
because you would have beaten a 9-win team from the previous year in the Big Ten West.
Well, and more importantly, like everybody wants that Colorado win so badly. Everybody wants the one against Colorado so badly. I look at it this way. Nebraska is not my pick to win the Big Ten West. I don't even know my pick to win the Big Ten West, but it's not going to be Nebraska.
Yeah.
Just understandably so under year 1 of Matt Rule. But if you lose in week 1 against Minnesota, which is a fellow Big Ten West opponent, you're already a step back in any potential conversation on August 31st. And on September 1st.
Yeah.
You're already one step back, and there's already a team that's one step ahead of you. If Nebraska wins on August 31st, they're going to look at this as, okay, Nebraska has the head-to-head win over Minnesota. And if Nebraska then is 1-0, which they haven't been in feels like quite some time, and then you have a gettable game against Colorado on the road that's going to have a lot of emotion tied to it. But if you come out of that Colorado game and you lose, but you beat Minnesota, you sit there and you go, okay, you know what? You kind of grasp at a straw and say, well, I understand that we don't enjoy losing, but at least I would personally rather win the Big Ten West game than the non-conference game.
That's a good question. Let us know which game, if you have to pick one, which game you would take, Minnesota or Colorado. You don't get to win both. That's obvious. All right. 402-464-5685. Text in the Starter Heyman text line and let us know. We are up against this. We better take a break. But go ahead.
That's fine. Hole in a Boat says no way. This is in response to me saying Brevin Spann-Ford was going to be the best tight end in the Big Ten Conference. Hole in a Boat says no way. Iowa's tight end will be the best in the league. Iowa has 2 tight ends. One of them is Luke Lachey, I believe is the way you pronounce it. And then the other one is a Michigan transfer, Eric All. Highly, highly disagree. I think Brevin Spann-Ford is going to be either 1 or 2, and the other one is going to be Kate Stover from Ohio State. I think one of those 2 will be the number 1 tight end in the Big Ten Conference. You also have the Penn State tight end, if I remember correctly, Theo Johnson from Penn State, and then you also have Colston Loveland from Michigan, if I remember that name correctly. So there's a lot of good tight ends. Iowa, I have no idea what they're going to look like on offense. They don't have Keegan Johnson anymore. People forget that.
Yeah. Well, Luke Lachey did show enough to me in his time that he could be the next great in a long line of great Iowa tight ends. Greats holding you maybe taking a step ahead, but he looks like he will be a problem. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully Nebraska can get into that mix with one of their tight ends as well. Once again, let us know, Colorado or Minnesota. You can only pick one. 402-464-5685. Go ahead and text in your choice and your reasoning as well. We'll get to that, and also maybe see if we get anything leaking out of Nebraska practice here. Coming up next here on the Ticket Water Cooler, 93.7 The Ticket.
Milton's food for the smoked meat sides. The only problem when they fix you a plate is that at some point, that plate will be empty. But hear me out. What if that plate was never empty? That dream can be your reality with the Mary Ellen's Express Lunch Buffet. From 11 to 2 every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday. One price, all you can eat, and it even comes with a drink. Tell your boss you're taking a long lunch and get down there. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul, 29th and Pine Lake. Let them fix you a plate.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kid pets in or out of your yard. Security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
This is Brian at Midwest Bank, and we've been proudly serving clients in the Lincoln community since 2008, and we're excited to open a second location in January 2024 at 70th and Pioneers Boulevard. Our new branch will provide all the convenient services you're looking for in a bank, along with the friendly staff we're known for. Whether you're starting a business or expanding your business, our team is here for you. Community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com, member FDIC.
Whether you're looking for a new place to call home or trying your current home, you want to make it as easy as possible. So why not use a realtor that works harder so you don't have to? The Carpe Diem team at Nebraska Realty is your go-to realty team for all your residential and commercial needs. They pride themselves on working hard and making your life as easy as possible while educating you every step of the way. Contact the Carpe Diem team to seize your moment, whether it be buying, selling, building, investing, or even commercial real estate. Give them a call today at 402-429-121.
This is Bud Steinhorst, President and CEO of LIBA, the Lincoln Independent Business Association. Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on 937 The Ticket for the LIBA Business Hour as we discuss local business and highlight those who are thriving in the Lincoln area. It's the LIBA Business Hour, Saturdays from 9 to 10 a.m. on 937 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you tired of living in pain? It's time to take control. At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, we're your one-stop shop for expert care in Lincoln. From broken bones to complex reconstruction, our skilled team will help you get back on track. Visit prairieorth.com today and discover why we're the trusted choice for thousands of patients. Don't let pain hold you back. Take the first step to a better pain-free life with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins. Call 402-489-4700.
Are you looking in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-105. Your electrical career today.
Ironhide Construction is hiring. They're looking for hardworking, self-motivated individuals who are team players. Ironhide Construction has openings for an experienced project manager, estimator, apprentice, skilled laborer, and erector or installer. They will train the right people and make sure you understand the position and requirements. At Ironhide Construction, it's own it, be honest, and do it right. Apply today and learn more about their other benefits at ironhideconstruction.com, where they're committed to you every step of the way. Junior Achievement of Lincoln inspires and prepares young people for success. Learn more about the people involved in the organization and the success stories over the years each Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. for the Junior Achievement Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFX, brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
The Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see probably sunny skies throughout the day, and then high about 87. Tonight we'll see a chance of storms in the world around 72. And tomorrow we'll see a slight chance of showers, storms, the forecast. Otherwise, Mostly cloudy to partly sunny skies in the afternoon high, again around 57. Meteorologist Kyle Huck for 93.7 The Ticket and the TicketFM.com.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 937 The Ticket and the TicketFM.com.
We're back here on the Ticket Water Cooler on a Tuesday afternoon. Of course, happy hour coming up next as we have a great lineup for you to cover what's going on in the world of the Huskers in sports. Lots of players at the podium today. Tony White, as well as a few other defensive assistants. Terrence Knighton was up there. Blaze Gunnarsson, I think, went up there. So we'll continue to report on that as the information comes out. Before we went to break, though, we did ask a question. If you have to have one, you're going to finish 1-1 after Minnesota and Colorado. What game would you choose? A lot of people probably thinking back to the rivalry would like to take Colorado. Nick, you've already made it known. You're taking the Big Ten West game. Ben Digman on Facebook says Minnesota is more important as it's a conference and a West Division game. You need that way more. So you kind of got that side of it. But I know there's some feelings for Colorado too. Aaron says would kill me to lose to Colorado, but we really need that conference win at Minnesota.
I'll be honest though, like there's also a way that I think, being realistic, you can if Nebraska ends up beating Minnesota, then I would take them as the upper hand on the road at Colorado.
If Nebraska beats Minnesota, all of a sudden, I think that 4-0 talk is only guarded by a loss to Minnesota.
I agree.
Yeah, if they can get that win, then they're going to be favored one way or the other. But if they get that win, I think. But if they get that win, then you're really looking at it, and I think that can greatly change the dynamic of what the season and how we see it. And that's what makes this, so much on the stick, so good for week one, is the ability to get over that hump. Again, they've lost to Minnesota 4 straight years.
Yeah,
we start to add up these streaks of Iowa and Wisconsin, and Minnesota's starting to build one of their own. So some more of a response off the text line.
Here's a question for you, Bob. So the spread right now for Nebraska Minnesota, it's at 8.
Minnesota.
When it in favor of Minnesota. When it opened up a couple months ago, it was 8.5. So to be fair, it's dropped a half point in favor of Nebraska. But are you taking Nebraska to cover the 8?
I do think it'll be a close game.
Do they lose by 1 score?
Right. There you go. Yeah. I do think it'll be a close game. I think Minnesota, a lot of the time, is kind of set up. They've got their own challenges. New offensive coordinator, losing a lot of their players that they've relied on over the years. That's tough. I think I would. I'd take Nebraska on that side of it. I still favor Minnesota to win the game, but not by much. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good number for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Giltner says beat Minnesota sets the tone for the Big Ten. Notorious BIP says just sink that boat. Minnesota's by far more important win.
That's my thing. Is like I think there's a lot of Husker fans starving for that feeling of we are 1-0 right now, and because Nebraska hasn't had that. Remember the Mike Riley year when they lost to BYU on the Hail Mary? ESPN made this big old deal about how Nebraska's won so many home games to start the season in a row, and it was like, man, this one just feels weird. But then Taysom Hill gets hurt in that game, and Tanner Magnum comes in, and you're like, all right, we should be okay with Tanner Magnum at quarterback, and they end up getting a Hail Mary. And it feels like ever since then, Nebraska's just very rarely started 1-0. And man, I selfishly want to do a post-game show where Nebraska's 1-0, and we can have that conversation of, is this the year that Nebraska goes back to being undefeated in non-conference play? And yes, you can still have that conversation. But man, going into that Michigan game, and we can do this, the guys in the locker room not necessarily don't want to look ahead. But man, it would be so much better to go in with a 1-0 record in the conference and a 4-0 overall record, or even a 3-1 overall record with a 1-0 record in the conference into that Michigan game.
Yeah.
Right, because then it's understandably so. You're going to be the underdog against Michigan. Michigan is a national champion contender, And it's all right. You were 3-2. You won your 3 non-con games, but you're 0-2 in the conference. What does that do for you in terms of conference? Nobody at the end of the year is going to say, "Well, at least you were 3-0 in the non-con." That's the tough part.
Other 1256, by the way, says anyone saying anything other than Colorado is crazy. Gotta have Colorado, old rival, terrible team, have to win it. I do think that there would be a lot of embarrassment if Nebraska does lose to Colorado. I don't think Colorado is going to be very competitive with TCU. It could be wrong, but we'll see. I just think that the overtaking that they have taken of completely flipping that roster. And I understand it was a one-win team to begin with. So you can say how much worse can it get? Maybe they got a few better athletes there, but this is something that I don't think there's enough emphasis on. Like if Deion makes this work, this could change the way that new coaching hires happen. And I don't think anybody can, just roll in and do it. But if Deion proves that is, they get to a bowl game or something. I mean, that's a new way to legitimately. This is he's like a mad scientist right now doing what he's doing. If it works though, it won't look so mad. People will get it done. So I think Nebraska's got to beat Colorado.
Yeah.
I just think there'll be a lot of egg in your face if you don't, because I think that's going to be pretty close to the Northwestern discussion they had last year, where how many teams are going to Colorado. And then the other thing is, Colorado has now put it, even they already had a target on their back, I suppose. But with Deion coming in, but now that they're leaving the Pac-12 and you go through that, if you didn't hear Dan the other day was kind of saying, well, what have they done since they? People are not going to be happy. Colorado. Pac-12 has their meetings today for another TV contract. They've had meetings, all the time. Never come out with a TV contract, but they've got another meeting today.
Check this out. Travis has an interesting take on here, and I somewhat agree with that. Travis says this: when Nebraska loses to Minnesota, okay, I'm going to change a word. Text Travis. If Nebraska loses to Minnesota, the Colorado game is the biggest needed win in a few years. Dropping to 0-2 this year after all the quote change would shoot down confidence. Now, what I would respond to that is that back in 2018, Nebraska started 0-6,
right,
and that did absolutely nothing in terms of shooting down any confidence. There was plenty of confidence.
They had to get it back
going in 2019, going into the second year,
because
right?
of the way this ended, though.
You're right. But I'm saying that one thing I will say is that if Nebraska was to start 0-2 this year,
there's a lot of season.
Number one, there's a lot of season left. Number two, at the end of the year, if Nebraska finishes 4-8 or 5-7, people are going to go, it's just different. It's different. That's what Matt Rule does. That's Matt Rule's track record. He's bad in year one. So either way, I don't know if there's going to be a lack of confidence going into year 3 under Matt Rule.
Yeah.
Because fans are always going to be able to say, hey, look at the track record. The track record's there. Now, after year 3, if Nebraska starts losing games, or if in year 3 Nebraska starts 0-4, or they finish the season 3-9, which if you look at the schedule, it's a little gut wrenching. Then I think maybe you don't have that track record.
Well, I think it's too interesting
to go back on.
Just bringing up the biggest needed win in years. Has there been a game that felt must win to you as opposed to can't lose? Right? It's always more the can't. And I know that that's a small difference, but it does kind of feel that. I think when you go back to Illinois, we were all saying that 2 years ago, leading into that game. Can't lose that game. So that's kind of your must win game. Same situation last year with Northwestern, where we were looking back at the Illinois game and saying it's going to be another year. They dropped both those. In both those seasons, went poorly. And by the end, obviously you have a new coach in place here in Matt Rule. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can put too much of a must-win emphasis on a year one, as opposed to previous years, because you're not at the breaking point of, man, we're gonna have to start all over. You are already starting over, but it kind of changes the way you look at a must-win game. Is like, this can really springboard you.
You know what's so wild? So just to kind of get some more in terms of recent must wins or most important games. I just searched Nebraska Cornhuskers 2021 football schedule, and this season, as I'm looking through the scores, and I have 22 schedule pulled up as well. And like in 2021 specifically, what a heartbreaking and difficult year. I mean, so you start out, you look bad against Illinois, and you lose by 8, right? I remember saying how important that game was because you knew that you were going to be 3-0 if you beat Illinois, right? And we saw it this year with Nebraska in 2021 with Nebraska. I mean, where Nebraska could have gotten a conference win right off the bat, same as last year. But let's say Nebraska beats Illinois, you're 3-0 heading to the road game against Oklahoma, where you lost by 7 points to a top 10 Oklahoma Sooners team. And then you follow that up with a pretty dominant defensive performance against the best running back in the country and Kenneth Walker III,
Oh, yeah.
and you still lose. And it's like, all right, well, Nebraska's now 0-2. Let's see how they respond next week. They respond with a 56-7, the Jock has yet coming out game against Northwestern. And then you lose a heartbreaker against Michigan because of an Adrian Martinez fumble. And then you lose by 7 at Minnesota. You lose by 5 against Purdue. You lose by 9 against Ohio State. You lose by 7 against Wisconsin. And you lose by 7 against Iowa. The so close, but now as we've seen it and things we know, you were so far away. Yeah. So close, but yet so far.
Yeah, that's why I mean, I'll go to my grave thinking I don't know about last year. I don't think that was the decision, especially going into the final few games of 2021 and saying, yeah, we're going to got brought. I think if you waited till that Iowa game, remember how frustrating that was, the block punt. I mean, Kirk Ferentz is kicking field goals down like 17 in the third quarter.
I was sitting up in the Iowa City press box thinking they're kicking a field goal, a few minutes left in the game because they are so confident they're getting this ball back.
Yeah.
And they got the ball back.
I mean, it works. But I mean, that's
shout out to Chris Kolarvik for intercepting Padilla's pass. Padilla.
That's right. What a great
Alex
way
Padilla.
to end that season. Though that was exciting last year, but 2 years ago, I think if you waited that long,
yeah,
you would have just probably let Frost go.
How about this? Drew and Wahoo with a good fact. 2019 was the last time Nebraska won its home opener against South Alabama. Cam Taylor-Britt had a pick 6 in that game, if I remember correctly, against South Alabama. That game was on, it's like on ESPN or something.
Was it really?
I believe it was on ESPN. But Drew and Wahoo says 3 years in a row losing the home opener, or just opener.
Yeah.
Right. I would like to know when was the last time Nebraska went on the road in the first game and won?
Yeah.
In their first game of the year and won.
Yeah, it's interesting schedule. I mean, road compared to Ireland. I mean, so I mean, I don't.
Well,
know.
yes, a neutral
Right.
site or road, site or road game.
But I'm glad you brought that Mike Riley one back up because I mean, of all the things that by 2015, I believe, by 2015, all the records that had subsided was one that hadn't was Nebraska winning their first game. That dated back to 1986.
Yeah.
So I mean, you went 20 years, whatever, without losing a first game. Now we're just used to it. I mean, it's that, but I mean, hopefully that changes.
And I'll be honest, like, so this my question might be tough to answer because Nebraska in the mid 2000s, they very rarely went on the road to start. It was very often did they have their first 2 games were home games, and then they'd go one road game, whether that be like Washington or Virginia Tech back in the late 2000s, or such. So that question might be a little tougher, but man, like I'm going through all these. It's 49-10 wins. It's 47 or 40-7 wins. It's 48-9 wins. It's just not that. 55-7. It's just not that.
Yeah, well,
it's crazy.
To be fair, too, they're playing a lot better competition with
They
the Big
are.
Ten instituting these week ones. Nebraska's been thrown into a conference opponent the last 3 years. Is that continuing next year? I have to double check, but
it is. But like that's my thing is like you're getting thrown into conference opponents, but it's not like you're getting thrown in. Besides the COVID year, you're not getting thrown into Ohio State. You're not getting thrown in. You're not getting thrown into Michigan like a Big Ten East team.
Well, they haven't been regularly beating anybody in the Big Ten.
You're right, but like thank goodness Nebraska's not Indiana where they're having to start out the season with Ohio State.
All right, let's take a quick break here on the
Tom
Ticket
Allen's
Water
final
Cooler.
year.
Yeah, that is true. We'll be back right after this.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL of Class A anti-drive. Dana Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job but a career. Dana Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Dana Trucking. Learn more and apply today at danatrucking.com.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. And Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids in or out of your yard, increase security, and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Join Rashawn Jackson, Terrell Farley, and Jake Bachhoven for the Captain and Ticket Walk this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the brand new Club Pilates studio at 84th and Holdridge. That's this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Club Pilates at 84th and Holdridge.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer. Works Fridays, souvenir Saturdays, Sunday family fun days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run with group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun with the Salt Dogs. Call 402-474-2255 or visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that may ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to NovotnyNutritionWellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
This is President and CEO of LIBA, the Lincoln Independent Business Association. Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket for the LIBA Business Hour, as we discuss local business and highlight those who are thriving in the Lincoln area. It's the LIBA Business Hour, Saturdays from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you tired of living in pain? It's time to take control. At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, we're your one-stop shop for expert care in Lincoln. From broken bones to complex reconstruction, our skilled team will help you get back on track. Visit prairieortho.com today and discover why we're the trusted choice for thousands of patients. Don't let pain hold you back. Take the first step towards a better, pain-free life with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins. Call 402-489-4700.
Whether you're looking for a new place to call home or trying to sell your current home, you want to make it as easy as possible. Use a realtor that works harder so you don't have to. The Carpe Diem team at Nebraska Realty is your go-to realty for all your residential and commercial needs. They pride themselves on working hard and making your life as easy as possible while educating you every step of the way. Contact the Carpe Diem team to seize your moment, whether it be buying, selling, building, investing, or even commercial real estate. Give them a call today at 402-429-8121.
I heard you and Jack had a disagreement.
Yeah, he says I keep things from him.
What are you going to do?
He loves the Nebraska Lottery's Powerball First Millionaire of the Year promotion. So I'll buy a Powerball with Power Play and Double Play ticket before August 14th, and I'll be one of 15 winners of $1,000. I'll also be entered for a chance to win a trip to New York City for New Year's Eve and a chance at $1 million.
$1,000? That should make him happy.
Depends on what. If I decide to tell him I won.
Powerball top prize odds, 1 in 292 million. You play Lucky for life, don't you? Yeah, love it. Chance to win $1,000 a day for the rest of my life. How does it work? Choose 6 numbers and buy a ticket. Then what? Check the numbers after the night drawing to see if you've won. Oh, slow down. You lost me there. Choose 6 numbers. 6 numbers. Got it. Check the drawing. Whoa. How do you remember all that? Just lucky, I guess.
Look for life top odds, 1 in 30 million.
Proud to be voted best vape shop.
Generation V.
Is thrilled to announce our newest location is now open at 27th and Superior.
Generation V.
Explore the selection of vape, Delta 8 Kratom, all your favorite brands of disposables, e-liquid, and premium THCA flower.
Generation V.
We'll guide you through our extensive selection and help you find the perfect fit.
Generation V.
With locations in Lincoln, Omaha, Stewart, York, Kearney, and Beatrice. Visit our newest store now open at 27th and Superior in Lincoln. GenerationV.com. Chemical.
It's home for sports talk on the FM dial. The home of Kansas City Royals baseball. KNTK FM First, 93.7 The Ticket. Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Ticket Water Cooler. One final segment before we make way for the happy hour. I'm sure we'll have some more Ticket Water Coolers along, and that goes with the theme with the Pac-12 meeting, because the Pac-12 meetings are going to continue because they had another one today, and they have broken it up and decided that they still don't have a media rights deal on the table. So
Yeah, they said we don't like that one actually.
And it is right now the Pac-9. There are 9 teams in the Pac.
Well, and Arizona is eventually going to Arizona Board of Regents are meeting tonight, and so they're going to figure something out. There's probably not going to be a decision made tonight, but somehow, some way, there's probably going to be a Pac-7 and then a Pac-6, and then maybe they'll add San Diego State, so that'll be back to a Pac-7. But it's I think it's over.
I think the Pac-12.
I do.
Not
Officially, I don't see whatever TV deal they do get is going to be a significantly less and lower number than any other Power 5 conference, and understandably and probably rightfully so, none of the other universities that are still in the Pac-12 should accept it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Washington or Oregon, I understand that the Big Ten has to want to move along too, but we've heard that report all along. Those are the teams. I mean, you almost approach the Big Ten, basically go back with the Nebraska deal.
Exactly.
We don't want full membership. We don't want full salary to begin with. We just want to know 20 years.
We just
from
want
now,
stability.
We're in a good spot.
Bingo.
Because they don't know that now. And I kind of predicted a long time ago, as this stuff started breaking down, it was going to come down to the Big Ten and the SEC basically turning into the NFC and the AFC of the NFL. Now it's going a little bit differently. Now the SEC hasn't expanded too much their footprint. The Big Ten is trying to do so and going nationwide. But it's just it's fascinating to see how quickly this is kind of coming together. What the sport, what the conferences look like in a few years is anybody's guess at this point, other than the sureties that you have in the Big Ten and the SEC. But I also think the college, I keep going back to this, the college football playoff as currently constructed with the 6 major conference, 6 conference champions. At some point, if the Big Ten and the SEC do expand to these super conferences that are just overshadowing by far whatever is left of the ACC or the Pac-12, you're going to have to rethink, why are we putting all these lower level, at that time would be conference champions in, rather than the teams that are competing. And the other thing is, like, how much, if the conferences are expanding so much, and that you eventually have to get to a point of breaking those conferences. Like, if you have a 2014 conference and you have to break it up into 2 divisions or whatever, I mean, I know they're not going to do the division thing, but you get what I'm saying. Eventually, you've got more than one traditional conference. So it's just going to completely change the way we see things, these moves. Who's going to be left out was kind of the scare of if any of this happens. I'll be quite honest, if Oregon State and Washington State aren't in a major conference by the end of this all, I won't weep. I think they're already seen as underdogs.
Come on. Oregon, now hold on. I like
your Corvallis
guy. I've never been to Corvallis, but I have a soft spot in my heart for, first of all, DJ Uiagalelei. Second of all, Oregon State.
Yes, the Beavers.
The Beavers. Jonathan Smith, first-time head coach, doesn't get talked about enough. He signed back in 2018. He got his first try at the head coaching job at Oregon State. Signs for like a super obnoxiously low amount of money for a Division I Power 5 head coach because it was his first job, and he ends up making Oregon State into a bowl team and actually a competent football team. And now he gets extended and is getting paid a little
Yeah,
better.
they've got a good projection coming up. The team's moving up.
Because of DJ Uiagalelei.
Maybe
The former home of Tristan Gebbia as well. Now Ohio
Avery
State.
Roberts?
Now
Oh, yeah, Tristan Gebbia is still playing, isn't
Tristan Gebbia is in Ohio State. He's got a job to compete for.
Something like that. That's fascinating. But I guess I was just kind of thinking that.
Don't disrespect Oregon State. If anything, move on from Arizona. Arizona is done. Remember when like Khalil Tate was going to get all this Heisman talk?
Yeah.
Khalil Tate, but no,
Rich Rod didn't work. There.
Rich Rod
Kevin
didn't
Sumlin
work.
Didn't work.
Kevin Sumlin. Where is Kevin Sumlin nowadays?
I
Is
haven't
that
heard
guy still coaching?
He should be probably an analyst somewhere.
He was gonna
on TV, man.
He got a pretty hefty extension from A&M at one point.
He did. He had the Johnny Manziel year. I mean,
Yes.
it did look like they were taking off.
Kevin Sumlin is in the Big Ten.
Is he? OC?
He is the
Wide receiver coach.
co-offensive coordinator and
Co-OC.
tight ends coach, along with associate head coach for the University of Maryland.
Is he? How long is that? I kind of remember that. That was just this offseason.
Kevin
right?
Sumlin. Here I can tell you for sure here. Kevin Sumlin. Well, that doesn't show his assistant coaching duties. Okay, here we go. Wikipedia. Got to go to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Okay,
Never
Maryland,
lies.
2023, because he was with
Yeah.
the Houston Gamblers
That's right.
in the USFL last season. And then now he's moved to associate head coach, co-offensive coordinator, and tight ends coach at Maryland.
A lot of USFL help in the Big Ten. Did you see the other day Skip Holtz
I did.
is joining Northwestern as a
I
special
did.
assistant to the head coach?
Speaking of Northwestern, they just announced just a couple minutes ago, if I can find Brett McMurphy's tweet here, that they are going to go to Southern Illinois to hire a defensive coordinator. Brett McMurphy says this. Never mind. Can't find it. I can't find the stupid Northwestern
I
thing.
think I saw something about that.
There was something else. But no matter what, no. So okay, back to like the Pac-12 deals though, Bach.
Mhm.
So Arizona and Arizona State, or I should say, Arizona State is trying to get partnered up with Arizona, which you would expect, like, two is mightier than one, and those two would want to stay somewhat together. So you would expect that those two, if one of them leaves, the other one's going to leave because they're going to have like this unofficial partnership. And so like that's fine. A texter texted in was like, I heard UNLV, potentially Notorious B.I.B. texted in and said, I thought I heard UNLV was looking at joining the Pac-12. And this is like my thought on this entire thing, right? Whether you're San Diego State, whether you're UNLV, whether you're Boise State, that's fine if you want to join the Pac-12. But first of all, like, you're going to be looked at as very much smaller little brother. And second of all, in terms of TV media rights deal, is the Pac-12 more stable than like the Mountain West? I don't know.
I don't know.
Because if they're going towards this landscape of 2 or 3 power conferences, and then just going to keep the rest of the smaller conferences just like a lower group, but still in Division I, I don't know how it works. Like the Pac-12, they need to decide whether or not they want to still be trying to consider to be like a power conference, which if they are, that's not going to happen. That's probably not the smartest thing to do. Or they need to understand where they're heading.
Yeah, but I still think just with the history there and the namesake that they would be able to still get a better TV deal than like the Mountain West. I get what you're saying. That's at least looking into.
It is. I would say the reason I bring that up, like with the Pac-12 and other schools within the Pac-12 conference, if you are, as you mentioned, Oregon State or Arizona State, right? And they add UNLV and they add Boise State and San Diego State just to try to get numbers. UNLV was 2-10, I think, in 2021, and they were 5-7 last
been
year.
struggling as a
There's
football
not
program.
there's and even if they were good or mediocre, there's not value. There's not a ton of value in UNLV. It's not like their attendance can be compared with the likes of an
They do
Oregon.
play a nice stadium.
Yes, and they play in a very popular market of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I get that. But it's not
But
like
that's like a
it's the same as UCLA, right? It's just
Right.
on an even smaller scale. There's few people that go. There's not a ton of people that go to UNLV games. They've not necessarily been looked at as a group of 5 team that goes, yeah, you know what? They're a team that can cause some waves. That's why like UCF and BYU were like kind of valuable to the Big 12 because they were so valuable to the Big 12. It's because the last couple of years you've seen BYU play on the ESPN networks because they're playing and they're knocking off Power 5 teams. Same with UCF. They're playing and they're knocking off Power 5 teams not only in the regular season but also in the bowl season.
Yeah.
So I think okay, Pac-12, you can add all these teams just to get numbers, but it doesn't. How much value is that going to bring for you?
It's also interesting as, you know, the Big 12 goes nationwide, the Big 10's going nationwide, that the Pac-12's answer still is let's add more specific time zone teams where nobody stays up and they're never going to, we're never going to get the TV contact that way. So I don't know. I don't know if there is a way to save the Pac-12 ideally, but we'll see. They're having a lot of meetings, so clearly there's no simple idea. All right, that'll wrap it up for the Ticket Water Cooler. Thanks to Nick for jumping in. You can hear him and Austin, I believe, coming up next year on Happy Hour on 93.7 The Ticket.
Moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Stall Dogs baseball unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer. Fireworks Fridays, Saturdays, family fun days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Make your home run group discount when you need an outing. The whole family will enjoy. Unleash the fun with the Stall Dogs. Call 402-474-2255 or visit stalldogs.com for tickets.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road. Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to NovotnyNutritionandWellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires doing business with the right people. And the right people, when it comes to drywall, acoustical ceilings, and specialty products, are at Premier Drywall. Kevin and his crew will give your project the response and attention it deserves.
You'll get all of the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build-outs, or renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at PremierDW.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketm.com.
Proud to be voted job.
Generation D
is thrilled to announce our newest location.